a question for you. Have you ever had someone do something in your life that caused you to feel unbelievably frustrated, angry, disappointed, upset, or whatever other word you describe that caused this emotional eruption inside of you where you're reacting and the only way you know how to describe that person in the moment is by using some very unkind words? Well, today we're going to show you not only how to release that anger and frustration, but also how to really truly get back to your true self and release yourself from any of those negative emotions that are slowing you down or keeping you from being your best self. Welcome back to another episode of JRC TV. Very excited to be talking to you today of how to release that anger, that tension, that frustration. Now, where this comes about is, I remember I was working with a client a few weeks ago, and while I was talking to them, actually a few of them, they were saying the same story from different positions, different placements. You know, they even live in different parts of the world, but they had a very similar experience where growing up, they were privy to some situations that they feel were unjustified and that happened to them as a young boy. And what's interesting is over the years, they built up an immense amount of frustration, an immense amount of tension, an immense amount of anger. And through all the years, this had festered within, building and building and building. And by the time I talked to them, you know, they had gone to therapy and they'd worked through all these other counselors helping them mellow out, but they still had this deep feeling within. And when I talked to them, I asked them, you know, what do you think about those people now, the people who did that to you? And it was interesting because you could immediately see their face tighten up, their body get tense, all this pressure that existed inside of them. And they were trying to be nice, but the only words that they could use to describe these people were very mean-spirited words. You know, this person is an idiot. This person, you know, doesn't deserve to be this person. And they just went on and on and on, all these negative ways to describe this other person. And I stopped them cold in their path and I said, listen, if you ever catch yourself in a moment where the only way you can describe someone is by using negative terms that literally tear them down as a person, in that moment you got to realize those terms you're using to describe them reflect more on who you are than them. What's interesting is when you start using all those terms, they trigger emotions. And the emotional mess that starts creating itself inside of you is where all that tension lies. The fastest way to release this is by asking one of two questions. Either one, what do I love about that person? And the moment you start thinking about what you love about that person, if anything, their laughter, their humor, their craziness, their intensity, whatever it is you love about them, instantly your body is filled with all of that emotion of love because you feel it. And you free yourself of the anger, the frustration, the resentment, the anxiety, whatever it is that came up before. Number two, you know, if there's nothing I love about them, what can I appreciate about them? And again, when you start to look at what you appreciate about this human being, instantly your body is flooded with that feeling of appreciation, and it releases the anger, it releases the anxiety, it releases the angst or frustration or whatever else was in there. So what's interesting is just by asking those two questions, you can instantly release it. Now the question becomes, how do you reinforce it? In today's download, we're going to give you a handful of steps you can do every single day to reinforce those positive emotions towards people. Now, does that mean you just ignore or you live in denial of what they've done and who they are? No. It means you don't allow yourself to become jailed and locked up and become prisoner of these emotions, the negative emotions you feel when thinking about them. You release yourself by forgiving them and finding what you love or appreciate about them, which instantly gives you the freedom emotionally. Because I'll give you a clue. If you're mad at someone for the next 10 years, they usually don't feel all the tension. You do, because you're choosing to flood your body every day with those negative emotions. So, switch it up. Use our worksheet to reinforce it. Ask a question. What do you appreciate about them? What do you love about them? Make the change happen and free yourself. Hope you enjoyed this episode of JRC TV. Look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for awesome videos each and every week.